Donald Trump says he will name a new person to run the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the next few days. On Friday, he fired Dr. Erica McIntyre, the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, claiming that she was rigging economic data to make him look bad. He offered no evidence to back up that claim, which came after weak jobs numbers, which he didn't like. The collection and reporting of economic data is traditionally a nonpartisan activity, and critics are now accusing Trump of injecting politics into the process. Well, I want to bring in Alayna Treene, who is at the White House with the latest. Great to have you with us, Alayna. So President Trump has accused the Bureau of Labor Statistics of orchestrating a scam with these jobs numbers. Is there any evidence to support that claim?
There hasn't been, and he hasn't provided any. I think really the issue, Linda, that the president has really focused on here, and what's really angered him in my conversations with officials here at the White House, is the idea that we saw in the most recent job report, which of course came out Friday. It was worse than expected. They revised down a lot of the numbers from previous months, from May and June, where they had showed it was, the economy was doing better, the jobs that were being added to the economy better than expectations. They ended up revising that data to show actually there weren't as many jobs added as they had previously reported. Now, I would note that that's actually something the agency, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, does often. They put out job reports and then they go back, they check their work, and they revise some of that data. It has been happening long before President Donald Trump was in office. But that's really what angered him, and that's what we're seeing a lot of the focus from the administration here be on. I mean, we heard from the director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, today, arguing that he believes some of the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics is unreliable. But again, no one really providing evidence for why that means that they had to, replace and fire Dr. Erica McIntyre, who was the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But Linda, I do want to also point you to what we're now hearing from the president as well, which is that he's expecting to try and find her replacement, or name her replacement, I should say, at some point this week. He made those comments yesterday when boarding Air Force One. I want you to take a listen to what he said.
We're seeing phenomenal numbers in terms of the business we do with other countries and the business we do within our own country. I mean, really phenomenal numbers. We'll be announcing a new statistician sometime over the next 3-4 days. We had no confidence. I mean, the numbers were ridiculous, what she announced, but that was just one negative number.
Something that's also interesting, I think, to point out here, Linda, is that we've actually seen the president himself, his White House press secretary, many other economic officials here at the White House celebrate the job data numbers, celebrate what the Bureau of Labor Statistics had been putting out when the job reports were good. We saw that earlier this year repeatedly, them pushing that, the economy is running great and the jobs report shows that. So we're now hearing this president shift his tune because that most recent jobs report showed that the economy was slowing. All to say, we're staying tuned to see who he may announce next to replace McIntyre, and also whether or not, of course, that person would be considered some type of loyalist, someone who the president would think would do better by him.
All right, Alayna Treene, outside the White House. Good to have you on the case. Thank you. Well, my next guest is a financial writer for The Washington Post and the author of the forthcoming book, The World's Worst Bet: How the Globalization Gamble Went Wrong and What Would Make It Right. David Lynch joins us now from Washington. Great to have you with us, David.
Good morning.
So the job market is flashing warning signs. We've seen these huge downward revisions of the markets for May, for June, and of course the weaker numbers we saw in July. The White House economist, Kevin Hassett, claims this data is unreliable. I just want to play some of his sound.
They could be politically manipulated because they're so untransparent. There's a black box system out there making the jobs numbers that needs to be improved. Indeed, the UK saw a similar circumstance like this a few years ago, and they actually shut down the data agency for a month or so until they got their ducks in a row. The fact is that we had these blockbuster numbers for Joe Biden last year that suddenly we lost about 1 million of them after he dropped out of the election. The fact is that I'm an economist, I'm not a politician, but when politicians look at numbers that make them wonder, then that suggests that there needs to be more transparency.
David, is there any evidence of manipulation? Is there anyone cooking the books in a political vendetta?
The short answer is no. And I think if there were evidence, the White House would have presented it by now. I'm unaware of any serious professional economist who does not work for the administration who has any concerns about the reliability of the data coming from the BLS. The jobs numbers, the inflation reports, everything that comes out of that agency is prepared by nonpartisan career civil servants who collect the data by surveying private sector companies. And the response rate from those companies, just like in public opinion polling, has gone down in recent years. That's made the first estimate of these numbers typically a little bit less reliable than in the past. But the process of updating and revising these numbers, utterly routine, happens all the time. It's supposed to happen. And it's the data that investors and policymakers rely on all over the world.
And of course, Trump's move to fire the statistics chief has been heavily criticized. We even heard from William W. Beach, the former commissioner of Labor Statistics and former head of the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. He had this to say.
I don't think there's any grounds at all for this firing, and it really hurts the statistical system. It undermines credibility in BLS. Suppose that they get a new commissioner, and this person, male or female, are just the best people possible, right? And they do a bad number. Well, everybody's going to think, well, it's not as bad as it probably really is, because they're going to suspect political influence. So this is damaging. This is not what we need to have.
David, what are the risks if Americans or global markets stop trusting the economic data?
Well, the risks are that it'll freeze activity. If you're the CEO of a company, how do you make a decision about investing in the United States if you don't have reliable information on the state of the economy, on how many people are working, on what products they might demand, on what your tariffs are going to be for the inputs that you bring into the country to make your product? It's like driving a car without a speedometer or a fuel gauge. It's like trying to lose weight and keep track of your diet by throwing the scale out the window and guessing. No serious economy can possibly operate without reliable data. And one of the great things about the United States, one of the things that's made us the richest economy on the planet, has been that government data, by and large, has been the gold standard over time. And these kind of political charges coming out of the White House put that at risk.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, in other big economic news this week, tariffs on more than 60 countries and the EU are set to take effect this Thursday. Trump has postponed them before. Could he delay them again given the market volatility?
He certainly could. I'm trying to get out of the business of predicting what the White House will do, because I'm usually wrong when I try to do that. But what's worth noting, though, is that we are in the midst of a historic sea change in the U.S. approach to other economies, to integrating the U.S. with other markets. And we now have, or on our way to having, if these tariffs go into effect on Thursday, the highest trade barriers since the 1930s. And, the United States came out of the Great Depression having learned the lesson. Members of both parties believed that high trade barriers made the Great Depression worse, and in the aftermath, and helped bring on World War II. And in the aftermath of that war, we spent decades leading an effort around the world to lower trade barriers. It was difficult, wasn't always successful, but where it worked, it's credited with spreading prosperity around the world, and certainly helping the United States. The president views it as an unfair system that has put U.S. workers at disadvantage, and there are manufacturing workers who've suffered over time. But this approach is really quite dramatic and quite historic.
David Lynch, great to get your perspective and analysis. Thanks so much for your time.
Glad to be here.
Well, still to come, scorching heat in Spain sends temperatures sky high. Just ahead, how folks are handling the dangerous heat wave there. Plus, air quality is plummeting across parts of the U.S. because of the smoke from the wildfires in Canada. What you need to know when we come back.